Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Q&A live stream. I'm your host Mod Ayiza and today we have a jam-packed day filled with all the community management team and Mod Sween from marketing who is joining us back. How is everyone doing? I'll start with you, Mod Sarnie. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, wow. No one
Yeah.
the host always asks but they never ask the host. I'm doing okay, thank you.
Now.
Doing okay. It's been a good day, good week, stronger last few weeks in fact. Of stuff. I'm excited. Yeah, pretty good, thank you. How are you? Okay, Goblin? Someone drilling through the wall?
I'm fine. My neighbour's wall clearly isn't. I'll mute. Come hit me up at the end.
Alright, I'll come back to you.
I'm doing well. I've been deep in blog writing this week. I've written one blog that might be going out tomorrow and another one that should be going out next week, which I'm very, very excited for. So yes.
Right.
Been very much enjoying myself.
Good stuff, glad to hear it. How about yourself, Modlight? How are you doing?
I'm really good, thanks, Ayiza. Yeah, I've just been working through the community consultation survey for the new skill. We've got like 40,000 responses, so it's just been amazing hearing everyone's feedback and talking with the team.
Not that many things to have to go through then, just a casual 40,000 to process. It's light work for light. Whoa, I didn't even mean to do that. I'll come to you in a moment, Goblin, when the walls have been finished. How about yourself, Sween? Good to have you back. How are you feeling?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for asking. I'm knackered. I came into the streaming room and Mod Spear said it sounded like I'm deflating. The amount of time I'm yawning.
Aww.
I've got some Tangtastic Haribo to try and give me some energy. But I'm good. I've been back for like 9 days. It was like 9 years. But loving life.
Well, we've got a whole bunch of questions to ask you, so I would normally kind of like delve into things, but like the whole stream is pretty much focused around you today, it seems. So we'll save that for a little bit later. But it is really, really good to have you back, and it seems like the community are pretty happy as well. Quick question, I guess, to break the ice. How do you feel about coming on stream now since all the other times before? Because most people, first time on stream, a little bit nervous. What's going in through your mind, like joining in now?
I don't know. I'm still excited. I still have the kind of same excitement I did initially. I remember my first ever live stream was for the Inferno release, and then I was really, really nervous. I don't have that anymore. Like it's just another day, but the excitement's still there. The passion's still there.
He's still fueled by passion. I love to hear it. Nice one. And Goblin, has the wall drilling stopped? If so, how are you doing?
I think so. I'm good. I'm busy. Obviously, all the boss rework dropped last week. Plugging away at stuff for Bounty Hunter and Desert Treasure 2 all at the same time. Busy, but doing okay. A lot of progress on Old School as well at the moment. Group Iron Man's booming. Yeah, I'm doing alright, can't complain.
Booming is an interesting way of phrasing spooning, because I feel like you've been spooned every drop under the sun, just like Sween and his account, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm not salty at all. Oh. All right, well, we've got some announcements to do, so let's get through them. First of all, !game update in the chat if you want to hear all the things about this week's game update, which were mostly changes to the Wilderness boss rework. We adjusted some of the drop rates and made some other changes based on your feedback. There's also some tweaks been made to the Venator bow, so check that out with !game update. Second that we have here is !account. So just a reminder, the closed beta for Jagex accounts is now underway. If you want to read our latest update about Jagex accounts and all things involved with that, check that out with !account. We also have !new skill Discord. As Modlight touched on just a moment ago, we're going through all of your feedback, over 40,000 responses. And when we're in a position to be able to pitch those suggestions, those skill ideas that we've derived from your feedback, we'll be using the Discord server quite heavily from that point on. So !new skill Discord, to be involved with everything dedicated to all things the new skill. And that is a good way to keep on top of discussions that we have with some of the contributors, which will be selected from the survey as well. We also have a little bit to show off in terms of a sneak peek of the week, what's coming out next week. And I think there is an image to go alongside this. I know a lot of you have been excited for this. Sween correctly pointed out that we missed a trick here and didn't bring together a rainbow setup with all the mixed different colors. But this is the Crystal Armor recolors that you can be expecting to release with next week's update. And I think in this week's update news post, we talked a little bit about what else to expect from Pole 78 with next week's update, which was the coin pouches and super extended anti-fires. The rest will then follow as per the priority that you voted on in the survey. So thanks to all 9,000 of you that helped fill that one out. These look cool. I don't own crystal armor at the moment, but I'm very tempted to sell my bank and buy it just so I can get the full green set and stroll around the Grand Exchange. It's a great set.
I have seen a lot of people ask for a pink version of this, and even though I can't guarantee that that will ever happen, I will say that I would definitely want to see a pink version one day. So for all the homies that want the pink version, I also stand with you.
All right, well, maybe you'll see that come to it.
If you can't be bothered to buy it, you should just send it on your hardcore rather than killing it with barrows instead. You know, you might as well.
I've still got another 60 barrows chests to go before I end up losing my red helm, unless I get Arims in that time. So I'll wait for that still. I've got to do Song of the Elves, and that's the whole point of me doing barrows, was to get Arims as a way to put it off. I never expected to be nearly 1,000 chests dry, but so be the way of RNG. Okay, now before we get into the Q&A, just one thing that I want to speak about, something that Sarnie alluded to a little bit earlier ago in regards to a blog that is going to be coming out tomorrow. So if you remember when we did the Giga poll, we put forward a bunch of proposals for Greenlight, and one of those failed, and that was the proposition of official account builds. Now, obviously, we stick to the poll system, and official account builds hasn't came out. But what we did say at the time was that we wanted to address what the future of official account builds looked like. To be completely honest with you, we don't know what that future looks like, so we want to open up the doors to you as the community to let us know. Essentially, what we realized was that there is actually quite a large amount of appetite for official account builds as a system, but the design that we proposed was largely disagreed upon for various different reasons. We tried to address a lot of those reasons with feedback revisions, but we weren't able to successfully do that. But it did bring forward a lot of commentary around the smaller and niche communities, those that play restricted accounts, that were really looking forward to having some form of official support in one way or another, but the system wasn't proposed in a way that would have helped that. Now, in an ideal situation, what we would have done is got to the point of community consultation if it had passed the green light to decide what those features were. But admittedly, hands up, we went too heavy in terms of a design proposal to you to suggest what it was going to be rather than what it could be. So our intention with tomorrow is to essentially own up to our mistakes, mention what went wrong, highlight a little bit of the potential of what official account builds could provide in the future if that's something that you wanted, and then essentially reignite that conversation of, we know there's an appetite there for it, we know that our design was bad, is there an appetite for it if we had a better design for you to kind of like contemplate in another Greenlight poll in the future. So we've got a survey that will ask you a bunch of questions to help guide that, and then we'll take it from there. If we feel like the input that we get from you as players suggests that there's a strong enough reason for looking at repolling it at the Greenlight stage in the future, no exact determined date as of yet, and we'll go down that road. And if not, then we'll simply just leave it there. But we felt like there was at least enough of a demand for those that really wanted it, but not in the way that we presented it, that it was worthwhile just going back out there and seeing, was that the case, or were we just misinterpreting it? So you can look forward to that coming out tomorrow. A lot of it is explained in there, so I'll just save a lot of the detail for it, but I thought I'd at least explain that that's where we're coming from. I'm sure that many people will be wondering, does this happen for every piece of content going forward? Are we always going to look at repolling things that end up failing in the Greenlight stage? And that's absolutely not the case. This really was just the demand seemed to be there. The problem was we had a design that we really shouldn't have had finalized as much as we had. So let's see if a different approach changes that at all. And if not, then cool, we will move on. So yeah, that is all I have to speak about official account builds. Wait for the blog tomorrow, and we'll handle your feedback as we would normally. But just to reiterate once more, we're not looking to add it into the game. There's some information about some changes that will be coming with next week's game update, but they're not game related, they're more website related. So again, look out for that. And then, yeah, we'll just see what happens. Take it from there. And now we have some questions to get into. So, as we said, there's a whole bunch here that I'm sure you'll be able to input on Sween. If there's at any point something that you want to talk about, I won't do the normal kind of like intro. We all know that you're playing old school at the moment and your account's getting absolutely spooned, especially if they check out your Twitter account. They'll see all your drops. Very envious of the Musper pet. I did not get it in anywhere near the kill count. I don't have it, and well, quite frankly, I just stopped because you annoyed me, but that's another thing. Really glad to have you back, though. It's like it feels like old times, but now we have a really solid team as well here in CM. And having you supporting in marketing has been a fantastic addition to the team so far. And I'm sure a lot of that will be highlighted with the questions. So first and foremost, for those of you watching at home, by the way, this obviously is a very different type of Q&A because none of us are developers. Now, we have opinions on what we think should and shouldn't be added to the game, but do we have the ability to actually develop, code them, and put them in? No. So instead, we asked the community what kind of questions you would like answering from a community perspective or from a marketing perspective. So if you have anything that you want to know about in terms of what we do here in community management and marketing, feel free to @ OldSchoolRS in the chat. We'll try and get through as many of those as possible. But we have a whole load of questions that we asked out on Reddit and Twitter that we're going to be going through. And the first one is hopefully a nice and wholesome one, but we'll see based off the responses that you give. And that is, what do you love most about being a community manager or marketing exec? And you know what, Sween, you can take the ropes on this one. Let us know your thoughts first.
Thanks, mate. I think the thing I love most about working in marketing or my time in communities is more the fact that I'm working in games. So I've worked really pants jobs for quite a long time, which means I don't take what I do now for granted. Like, really, Ayiza, when you were in the office the other day, I kind of said to you, like, when you think about it, you put it in a perspective. All we do is sit and talk about RuneScape all day. It's not a hard life, is it? It's quite nice to do that. So with this, I've been able to travel to different countries, play against other game studios in football tournaments. It's just it's wild. It's a cool life, and I'm really fortunate to be doing what I'm doing and not doing a job I hate.
All right, it's a pretty good start. Thank you for that, Sween. Light, do you want to take the reins next?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it's just about being in a position where you have the power to influence things for the players. I know that, sometimes we don't always get things right, but what I love the most about my job is that we can be in a position to make things right. So we can sort of solve problems and pick them up as they arise, and also try and prevent them from happening in the first place. With more experience, that tends to happen more for me. And I just love the communication aspect with players. I want to represent their views. Even though I may not share the same views myself, I'm a much more casual person when it comes to the game. I love just listening and communicating and creating that dialogue. And yeah, to echo what Sween said, it's great to have a job that you actually like doing and that you're passionate about. So that's what I love the most.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Light. Sarnie, how about yourself? What do you think?
I think it's a nice mixture of what both Sween and Light said, like being that sort of the middle people in between the players and the devs and helping the communication go back and forth between them is like a really nice place to be. And I feel like I've really embraced that, especially in the last sort of few months and writing these blogs that I've been heavily involved with. I've been really enjoying it. And then, yeah, the fact that it's also in not just gaming, but a game that I think we can all say we've been heavily inspired by and grown up with is a fantastic place to be. Not every game lasts this long. So it's nice to see something that we all sort of did when we were younger still continue to progress, and we're a part of that.
Yeah, I guess it's not every day as well. You can kind of get players traveling around the world trying to figure out real life puzzles to solve something in game whilst pretending to be seemingly cursed by an evil lord.
Yeah, definitely not. The less we speak about him, the better, I think. So.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. I'll move on swiftly to Goblin. What about yourself? What do you love most about being a community manager?
It's weird going last because it feels a bit unoriginal, isn't it? But echoing the same things about just. I don't know, it's mad to be able to just talk about old school all the time. I think when I first started, it was kind of wild to just be so close to the game. And I guess being able to represent player feedback to devs and stuff and feel like I was making a positive impact on the game. And now it's just, I guess, kind of the fact that I love old school so much. I've loved RuneScape since the early 2000s. And it's still it occupies my 9 to 5:30 and it doesn't feel bad. I don't get bored of old school. I still I clock out and I'm straight into barraging or Slayer or whatever I'm doing. It's just, I'm blessed in it. Very
Awesome.
fortunate,
right.
I think, more than anything.
Well, thank you everyone for your input. I realise we've got quite a lot of questions, so I'll chime in every now and then, but you don't want to hear what I love most about being a community manager because I'm just miserable, aren't I? So no, I'm not really. I do. I love my job. It's very similar to as the others. It's super fortunate to be somewhere I am. Similar to Sween, I worked in a lot of previous jobs that I just absolutely hated, and it started to become a massive drag on the day-to-day. Impacted me on many ways more than I ever imagined, and as soon as I kind of stepped away from that and moved into something I was passionate about, my life changed entirely, and I've been forever grateful. I've been able to travel across the world as well, visit different countries, and I think for me it's just knowing that in one way or another we can directly have an impact on someone else's mood. And I don't mean to say that we thrive on making people feel miserable when we make changes that are negative, but one day someone could post up a message that is actually seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but to that individual means a lot, and us being that bridge between them having that issue and then expressing it to the team and having that fixed is just an incredible feeling. And the feedback that we get as a result of that is always just very uplifting. So yeah. All right, next question. Let's move on. How did you decide, or what inspired you to become a community manager or marketing exec? And I guess we'll stick with the same format for now, and then I'll switch it around a little bit later. But first of all, what about yourself, Sween?
So I spoke before about joining Jagex or getting into games, so I won't go into that. But in terms of getting into the community, it was just they needed a community manager on OldSchool, and I thought, I've got the skill set, I've got the game knowledge, and I want to work on OldSchool. And so I applied, and I got the job, as you know, Ben.
Oh yeah, I do know. A bit of competition there, wasn't there, mate?
It was, but all friendly. And then marketing, so twice now, because before I went back into community, I had a really short stint in like social and video marketing. That was just circumstantial. They needed to have a social media and video marketing manager for a mobile release. Couldn't hire anyone good. I thought I got the skill set, and I went for it. Then I went back to community once that job was done. So I think both times, just right place, right time.
Okay, fair enough. Appreciate it. What about yourself, Light?
This is like a less, I guess, cool response, but I was just really angry. I was a really angry gamer, and so I was really upset with the game.
I saw the clips.
I was really upset with the game that I played, and I really wanted like typical like Karen mentality. I wanted to speak to someone about it, yeah, I discovered essentially the whole world of community management and how like community managers actually deal with those issues. And I thought, oh my goodness, like I want to do that. So that's how I found myself here.
Cool. You got your job by wanting to speak to the manager, quite literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Thanks, Light. How about yourself, Sarnie? What brought you into community management?
Mine's a bit of a boring story, I'm not going to lie, but I've always wanted to work in games in some capacity. I was sort of going down the art route before with college, and then I just fell into social media management, and I did several jobs in that sort of frame for a couple of years, and I was just like, none of this is really making an impact. I want to really make an impact, and I saw a job listing for the community manager. I just went for it. So yeah, not that thrilling, but I'm here.
History.
So. Yeah.
Fantastic. How about yourself, Goblin? What brought you into community management?
Yeah, I'm just going to start speedrunning, by the way, because I feel like there's a bunch of cues that people might want to hear more about. But I don't know, hated academia, loved esports, quite enjoyed like copywriting and stuff. Lucked out with an opportunity to get out of academia and into influencer marketing, and then kind of naturally just fell into CM after that to get to like work with creators and stuff. And love old school, so I just helped. I don't know. Again, just very lucky, right place, right time. Immensely fortunate, but wasn't really like a long-term goal or anything. Just sort of happened. I don't think I'm doing bad, but it just kind of happened.
I wouldn't say you're doing bad either, but yeah, I think the common trend across the board here seems to be driven by passion, right? Everyone's super passionate in one way or another, whether it's Light being passionate about wanting to make changes because she's angry, or Sween being super passionate about the game and thinking he's got the skill set, Sarnie passionate about the industry in general. Very much the same, I think, for myself. I was working in IT. I developed my career pretty well, actually. I was pretty well progressed, but I was extremely unhappy with it. And I was at that point where I was saying to myself, now is probably the last time that I have a chance to do a complete career shift and start over. So I'm going to do it in something that I love. And the rest is history. There's a bit of back and forth and competition with Sween in the process, but thankfully I made a good enough impression that they did eventually reach out after giving Sween a job to bring me on board too. And here I am now. So perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the next question, which is, I think some being deleted. No, I just can't read. What has been your favorite project to work on so far? And I'll start with you this time, Sarnie. Put you on the spot.
Oh, my favorites. Oh, this is a hard one because like I'll just try and be quick. In terms of like actual sort of like community consultation, probably Giants Foundry, just because I know where that went from in terms of what it could have been to what it became, which I think was like, and I enjoyed every second of that, just sort of like communicating with the community on what we should have done and what we should do. So that was really cool. But in terms of like stuff I like really solidly enjoy working on, it's got to be the ARG, 100%. I love anything puzzle related, anything sort of like mysterious. That's my jam. So yeah, probably that.
It's unsurprising as well, and I feel like, I know I say this to you all the time, but we need to do more about showcasing some of the great work that went behind that and how involved the community were in trying to solve it, because there's a lot of information in there and some absolutely absurd steps that went along the way. Okay, what about yourself, Goblin? Favorite project to work on so far?
I'll be quick. Probably Wildy Boss rework because it's like pretty recent, and I think even though it still needs a little bit of tweaking, that it's so much better than I could possibly have imagined, and people have been really kind about it, even people that aren't Wildy inclined. I loved so much the creator work we did last year. Highlight was probably like Guns Chili's Tombs of a Massacre trailers. I thought were really good, and I know that by the end of this year it will definitely be Desert Treasure 2. That is shaping up to be so sick. I'm so excited about DT2, but yeah.
Awesome, thank you so much. Sween, how about yourself? Favorite project so far? I mean, in 9 days.
Historically, I'll say mobile. In the last 9 days, I'll talk about it later. There's one. I've got an answer to a question later.
Okay, all right. I think I know which one it is, so we'll save it for there. And lastly, Light, how about yourself?
Historically, for me, Guardians of the Rift, but currently it's the new skill. I feel like with the new polling system, we're finally able to action a lot of feedback earlier on in the process. And there's just lots of really cool stuff with that project. So that's my favorite.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all. Okay. What about unforgettable moments regarding your job? Whether it's with players, with your workmates, or about a specific project? If so, what's your most precious memory of being a community manager or marketing exec? Sween, kick us off.
I've got two. They both involve you. One is Game Blast, 2 a.m. I think whoever was going to fill that segment just didn't show up or went to bed or something along those lines. So we just did like an art stream where we were designing theatre of blood weapons on paint. I think we did the first like scythe concept art, I think. And then bot busting, dressing as bots, and I rewatched that recently. Like walking around the studio dressed as bots is just so dumb, but so much fun as well. And then another one is last year there was a special effect football tournament. I played for Jagex as like a ringer, and we won. And I got player of the tournament, and that was really, really cool.
Hell yeah, nice. A little bit of fitness in there too. I like it. A little bit of a mix. The bot busting one especially was so fun because I remember we just sat there one day and I was like, yo, Sween, what if we just dressed up as bots? Like I can find an outfit. And I got like tinfoil from the kitchen, bald caps which we glued to our faces to make sure that they stayed on. The moment we first appeared on stream walking into the room, doing the bot like animation walk, just absolutely brilliant. So I'm sure we'll look to recreate that at some point today. I actually found the tweet that I put out back in 2018 of that Game Blast stream with the original designs. And you know what? We weren't too far off what the scythe ended up being. So I'm proud of that. I'm glad you are too. How about yourself, Goblin? Do you have any unforgettable moments regarding your job so far?
I'm really forgetful generally. I think my worst was being really excited for the Winter Summit and getting there super early, and then we had to do a rollback that day, so that sucked. But I won't forget it. And then on that same night, somebody in this call who will remain nameless, launching an entire espresso martini on a stranger. Well, not that significant, but it just lives completely rent-free in my mind. Don't know. Can't stop thinking about it. Very funny. I won't say who. Somebody.
No, we definitely won't say who that was, but it was a night to remember, that is for sure. It was not me for once. Sarnie, how about yourself whilst Light recovers?
I mean, that was sort of ties into one of my ones, which was just getting to meet up with you guys anytime, because some of us are a bit further away than others. Anytime we're all sort of in the office together, it's a good time and a very fun time. Another one would be going to TwitchCon last year and actually speaking and talking with other players and community, like content creators, was really, everyone's so nice. They're just really lovely. And the final one was probably the first game jam. Like that very first game jam, there's so much hype and anticipation. Everyone was working on something they were so passionate about. It was, yeah, really, really good.
Awesome, thank you, Sarnie. And Light, how about yourself? Any unforgettable moments that you can think of?
For me, it would be the Pride event that we did in 2022. It was really unforgettable. One of my proudest days, really, to be working at Jagex. We as a team were like completely united on it, but we were really concerned about like the potential toxicity that came along with it, and how it affected like our community as well as our team. So when I saw the turnout for that event, I was just like full faith and full confidence in the community that we serve, and it just made me really happy and really proud.
I like that one. Thank you all. I'll just quickly round up on mine. It would probably be, I have so many like unforgettable moments, to be honest. One of them being the espresso martini, me also walking into a glass window and giving myself concussion for 3 days whilst in America. That lines up nicely. That's part of it, and that was, you know, me going to TwitchCon for the first time and being able to go to America after only being in the team for like 3 months was surreal to me, because it was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that working with an organization. Most of the time it's very like, you know, just grim, and it was very much corporate environment I was in, and suddenly I was like in heaven. But I think out of them all, aside from being able to cast my first Deadman event, I would say it was the very first RuneFest I attended as a staff member. It was an incredibly eye-opening experience, extremely exhausting, but in like a good way. It's like the weekend disappears. It takes a week to recover afterwards because of how dead you are, but just being able to chat with players in person, similar to how Sarnie said at TwitchCon, it was just absolutely next level. And it's really grounding as well when you have the opportunity to actually experience and feel the passion other players have, rather than it be just through text, because a lot of things can obviously be misconstrued through text, as I've often found out when I'm communicating on the likes of Reddit and such, but it's a learning lesson for us all. But yeah, definitely RuneFest is up there. Okay, all right, next question. When Old School began, and for the first few years, there was effectively no purely community management staff, and players interacted directly with developers on Q&As. Are you concerned that having such a large CM and marketing team detracts from the community's relationship with the developers? And how do you address this? You want to go first, Sween?
Sure, yeah. I mean, early on, right, you had Matt and Ronan pretty early on. So not strictly true, but I get it. I think having CM and marketing allows devs freedom to focus on projects they're working on and get involved with the community and focus really tightly on the projects they're working on, or choose to get involved more widely, but it's no longer necessary. I mean, let's be honest, like players are great. It's amazing being able to, you know, affect so many lives, for better or for worse, but it can take its toll doing it on a daily basis. So with community, especially, like you on the stream, not me anymore, thankfully, you're the shield or the conduit, so you get to take the battering and let the devs focus on getting all the good stuff.
Fair point. Nicely put. Like, I know you had something that you wanted to also bring up around this one, so you want to take it next?
Yeah, well, like, I was thinking about this question, and I feel like even though 4 CM seems like quite a lot, we are effectively managing a community with, like, potentially millions of players. We have, you know, very, like, a lot of members. So relative to the player base that we have, I think our team is still quite small. I don't think, though, however, if we had a larger team, that it would really detract anything from the relationship that devs have with players. Currently, it's the case that devs can kind of reach out as and when they feel they want to. And I think that most of the people on the team, especially the old school team, are already very in touch with the community. And they should have their own sort of like preferences on how much they want to interact and engage on a daily basis. And it would also suck as well if having to engage with the community was a key requirement for developers. I don't think they should be required to do that as part of their like core responsibilities. So I think CM only adds to the relationship and shouldn't really detract anything away from it.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair point. One of the ways that I look at it, especially in relation to this question specifically, is that I think the CM team coming in and growing is kind of just taking a hold of the fact that the team itself is growing and it's not feasible anymore to just have the dev team in one stream because it's so much larger than it used to be. So rather than take away that interaction that used to exist, the devs have the opportunity to join as and when they're able to and want to as well. And in the meantime, we can fill those gaps and we can fill those communication gaps that exist when they are also busy working on projects. So rather than taking away, we're just giving more. And I think if we as a team were to grow larger than we are now, that would only increase as well. You know, think about how much more consultation we could do, how much more kind of like feedback we can take on, more focused discussions and stuff that we could have that would then really make an even bigger impact than we already have in terms of the kind of decisions and changes that get made when it comes to updates and content releases. So yeah, Goblin, is there anything you want to add to this one at all?
Not really. I just I saw like somebody in the chat talking about like it's nice to have like the devs around to ask the reasons why, etc. And obviously they do they jump on streams like pretty often, right? But I think also that we're like really embedded in projects to the point where anytime like, you know, if we're not able to explain the dev rationale for something, or at least just ask the dev's rationale for something, then like something's obviously just wrong, and that's not usually the case anyway. So I don't know, we're like really close with the devs. I think probably closer than a lot of CMs are, and maybe other studios, to be fair, in terms of how embedded we are with like projects as they're ongoing and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so as well, considering the fact that, you know, for a little bit of context for players out there that may be wondering how it is that we work, we typically have CM involved in every large project that's going on as a key stakeholder, because Jagex as a studio see the player input and the community aspect of our game to be really important. So for us, it's we almost essentially get treated in the same way as devs do, even though we're an entirely separate department. And I think that's what makes everything that we do work so well. Obviously, you know, we don't always get everything right, but that's just part of it. We try our best though, and being so embedded in with the team means that we can bring that feedback in and it not just be you know, brushed away as, oh, it's just, you know, the players are just moaning. It's actually taken seriously, and we have the opportunity to put forward a case for if something should be different. And you should hopefully see that as each content update comes out and the feedback that gets changed. And it's not to say that we in CM are the only ones that are doing that, because the developers themselves are just as passionate, and more often than not they're spending just as many, if not more hours, even in their own time, kind of like trawling through feedback that they see on updates and such and suggesting changes. But it's just one of the beauties of working in Old School as a collective. We're all super passionate about the game and how we feel about it, and we want to do our best. So Sarnie, anything else you want to add on to that before I move on?
No, I don't think so. Just that, you know, it's quite a unique game in itself, Old School, with the polling system and everything. So, you know, I don't think we hinder that process. I think we help more than anything. So, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. All right, we've got a question. I think, Light, this is probably perfect for you, considering you're working on it currently. With the new skill on the agenda, it must be very exciting yet challenging for a community manager. We mostly see the player side of the new skill. Can you perhaps share the community management perspective of the new skill with us players?
This was a really interesting question, and I could go on and on about it. So I'll try and keep it as brief as possible, because I know that we have a ton to get through and we want to interview and grill Mod Sween about his marketing stuff. But what I'll say here is, like, this is one of the most challenging projects because of the fact that we know that everybody wants a new skill, but we don't know specifically what kind of new skill all players will agree on. So we've already seen a lot of fantastic pitches from the community. None of them are what we would describe as like perfect. There might be ones that are like super close to perfection, which that's what the community consultation survey is there for, is to figure out which elements of each pitch you guys like. And currently we're in that process of creating pitches that are backed up by the data, like what backs up what you guys like and dislike about each of the existing community pitches and, you know, potentially previous pitches that we've offered. So I will say from our perspective, developers do seem to want like creativity to explore more creative and new ideas. So they want more creative freedom, but we're also trying to manage that with the demand for skill pitches to match player expectations. So there's those two things, like you have the developer creativity on one side, and you also have this survey that's telling you all the things that players want from a new skill on the other side, and just matching those two up so that developers feel like they have enough creative freedom to give you guys a pitch that you know, they're passionate about, they're comfortable with, while also maintaining the expectations that we know from the survey. I saw from the survey as well, there was a significant amount of like concern about whether the new skill would be stuck in quote unquote development limbo. And we really want to ensure that as much of the survey data backs up our skill pitches as possible so that we don't get stuck in that limbo with the new skill. I have full confidence in the new polling system. I think if there are issues, we're going to be able to identify and correct them as they arise. So we're really, really excited basically to be working on this project and working so closely with the community. It's super challenging, but you know, we have a much better polling process to make sure that we can change and adapt based on community needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Modlight. Really well put. Does anyone else free form now want to add anything to that at all, or am I good to move on?
I'm too distracted by all the pot friend antics in chat.
Yeah, sorry.
It's completely ruining my ability to focus. I need to close chat.
I may be, you know, in cahoots or whatever it is with some people in the chat here. They're egging me on, and I'm egging them on in response. So it's just the way it be.
I will say that obviously the new skill's like the biggest thing. It feels like almost that the OldSchool team's like ever done, and I think like it's doing insane work. There's so much to juggle, just like permanently busy. And, yeah, I don't know. Just think it's been really good, and it's cool because I've not been able to be close to it because all of us are busy with other stuff too. So it's just nice to know that it's in like really good hands. I have like the utmost faith that between the community and like working on that alongside the devs, that I don't know, we're gonna wind up somewhere really special, right?
Agreed. We'll see all that hard work come to fruition soon. Yep. Pop off.
But even if it sucks, we can go back in the process, which is a good thing. So.
All right, let's move on to the next one then. So, this is a question. Well, it is obviously a question. I don't know why I said that, but it's in regards to the website, and they ask if there's any chance it can be updated to show which polls have passed, like it does in game. Right now, you have to get out a calculator and exclude the folks that skipped the question to determine if it passed. This royally annoys me, actually, because people always refer to them when they then look online. Rightfully so, you'd imagine that that's exactly where they would look. But Sween, do you have anything you want to add onto this one? I think you looked into it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of answer ahead of time. So it's not something that's being worked on. The team that would do that have other priorities. And it might seem like a small change, and I don't know. I don't want to talk for it, but it probably is a small change. But I don't want to shift their priorities because they're good ones. Like that kind of team is busy working on things like the launcher and Jagex accounts. I don't want to see that touched. What we have discussed as like a kind of community marketing team is having another link on the homepage, which is like a roadmap style webpage where we talk about what's coming up, you know, stuff we announced at the summit and whatnot. Maybe on that page we could include recent poll summaries and talk about results there. Maybe that's like a short-term fix. Long term, yeah, I'd like to see the website brought up to scratch, you know, to fit a website in 2023, but still keeping the current kind of thematics, the current styling, that type of thing. I think there's a good balance we can make between functionality and staying old school.
I hope that we can one second. I'm apparently losing my voice, but I hope that we can eventually get to what that healthy balance looks like, because I know that within the team especially, there are some frustrations towards the functionality we have available in terms of the website at the moment. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, next question then. It seems like I've planted this one, but it's the first time that I'm actually seeing it. So here we go. Finally, the power duo Mod Sween and Mod Ayiza is back. Mod Sweezer. I'd like to ask Mod Ayiza's feelings on this on a scale of 10 to 10. I like it. How happy are you that Mod Sween is back? Well, I mean, the question answered itself. It's definitely 10 out of 10. I'm super happy that Mod Sween has rejoined us. It was what I would consider, no disrespect to any other eras in existence, but 2017, 2018 were definitely the golden era in my eyes, because the two of us were just an absolute powerhouse, trundling through all the things that we had to, supporting everything that we did. And I feel like we did a pretty damn good job, all things considered, on how fast the team was moving and the extra things that were coming into fruition. And look at us now, a much bigger team, back again with even more content to be supporting, even more initiatives, larger projects, crazy new things coming out. And it's already noticeable. I know it's only been 9 days officially, but you were working here a little bit beforehand, and the input that you were able to provide has been massively noticeable and appreciated. It's great to have someone like Mod Sween, because he has a huge amount of experience and wealth across the general gaming industry and the two disciplines that he's now been working
really
in.
Awkward.
No. I'm going to keep on going. But also
right.
the passion that Sween has for the game. You know, he is a player by and large. And lastly, he's also a good friend of mine outside of work. So being able to work with one of your best mates is truly an awesome feeling. And I think it's actually better now that you're in a different department, because it doesn't feel like we're just competing with each other all the time. Not that that ever became a problem, but I'm sure at some points it probably held one of us back in one way or the other. So now we can be best mates. Yeah, ooh, friends. Working on a game that we both love with a team that we absolutely adore as well. And I'm really looking forward to the things that we can achieve in the future. So
Me too.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, is there anything you wanted to add to that other than just, be careful about walking out of the door? You might not fit with your head enlarging, but you're welcome to, or we can move on.
Let's move on, mate. There's like another 20 questions, and we're probably
There
more.
are, and I know why you want to move on, because the next 5 questions are, so, Mod Sween. All right, let's move on. These are going to be, some of them are focused a little bit more on Mod Sween. I might try and skip through to the end though, because we've got a whole bunch that I think are really, really exciting. But for now, I'm going to ask you a few, and I'm going to use your answer time to figure out which ones to bring up. So someone has said that they are so hyped that Mod Sween is back. This wasn't me that wrote it. I know I just said what I said, but it wasn't me. I guess they're saying you never quit OSRS, you take a break, go to working there too. So what made you leave and then come back to Jagex?
Yeah, for saving time's sake, I wrote down some answers ahead of this time. I said all along when I left that I'd be open to returning one day. I think a lot of people thought it was like empty platitudes. I didn't expect to return so soon, but I thought I might. I left for a couple of reasons. The main thing is I wanted to work on something new and fresh, and I got that opportunity. The studio I went to was working on a game, in pre-production, yet to launch. As for returning, it just made sense. So I left that studio I just mentioned. I became a consultant for a couple of different studios, one of which was Jagex. I bought into what we were trying to do in Old School. The Winter Summit was one of the first things I got to work on. Just awesome. Stars just aligned, and then coming back full-time was the right thing to do. And then the marketing director, my boss, also added this as a comment, which was, plus he's such a nice guy and a great boss, blah, 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 blah.
Nice one. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sween. I have had a chance. I'm going to go to the next question, and then I'm going to do a skip after that, but I'll let production behind the scenes know. So welcome back, Mod Sween. How was your time at your last job? What did you learn that could be brought back and applied to Old School?
Yeah, so how was my time? I loved it. It was great. The team were awesome. There were some kind of IRL circumstances that made me look elsewhere. I got to see, in terms of what I learned, I got to see a lot of the work that goes into preparing to launch a new title. I got to visit Iceland a lot, which is great. I got to work with new people who have a lot of experience that I haven't previously been exposed to, which is really eye-opening. And in terms of what I could apply to Old School, I picked up kind of honed a little bit, some skills. namely around research and player insights, which are really important when you're working on a title that doesn't exist yet. I think these skills are really, really key to a marketer's arsenal.
Awesome, thank you, Sweeney. If anyone else wants to input, by the way, I know a lot of them are more marketing-y, but I think some of these maybe open up the floor for extra discussion. Feel free to butt in. But the next one that I'll go to is, now that you're back, are there any projects you're looking forward to working on? And what are your plans for work this year?
Cool. So some people might have seen a tweet from Ash. Someone asked Ash, how's the HD project going? And Ash confirmed that he'd seen an internal prototype. I've seen the same thing. I'm really looking forward to working on that. It looks great. We're not ready to show you yet, but that'll be up to, I guess, me and the community team, right, to decide when is the right time. In terms of what I've... oh yeah, okay, cool. Sorry, my own notes confused me. So what else am I looking forward to working on? So like I said, the Winter Summit was great. Yesterday, with the Creative Services team, we had an informal kickoff for the Spring Summit. So I'm really looking forward to do that. And another thing, which is probably really unexciting, is research pieces. Understanding what we say is our total addressable market, i.e. how many players we might hope to talk to or get to play Old School eventually. So what really this is understanding how big Old School could be, how big we can grow it to be.
Awesome, it's pretty exciting stuff there. Even the unexciting, it excites me at least, maybe not the players. All right, next question. We're quick firing these. I love it. So many cool things have been worked on this year. Account security, a new skill, bounty hunter, forestry, desert treasure 2, etc. Did any of these play a role in your return to Jagex?
Account security big time, right? Like in CM, we've seen player gripes around security for a long time now. So to see that progress along to a point where it's actually finally player facing, admittedly it's just in a closed beta, quite small for the scale. That was a huge part. I mean, I've known about the plans for years, but for reasons beyond our control, the plans kind of slowed down, changed a bit. Everything else you listed, so the new skill, bounty hunter and whatnot, yeah, they all collectively played a part in it. Everything we spoke about at the summit played a part in my decision to come back. What Old School were hoping to do is awesome, and I bought into it. The kind of the love that the PvP community are getting at the moment with the Borderless boss rework and bounty hunter coming up to. It makes me really happy to see. So I think that area of the community was kind of left in the cold for quite a few years, which isn't a shot at anybody, like none of my colleagues or anything. But I think that the leadership we have now with Mod Marcos at the helm is great because he's really keen on making sure we're delivering for every type of player.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point there at the end. Thank you, Sween. All right, next one. This one's definitely more open. What are everyone's thoughts about very popular creator-made competitions like Soup's Gielinor Games and EVScape's OSRS Battle Royale? Is there any interest within Jagex to do similar but official?
I'm happy to jump in, but I know Sween made notes, and I feel like I'm just going to yoink one of them effectively. But
you go first, and then I'll copy you.
I'm not gonna. They do it better than us, innit? Like, I feel like support. Like, it's not wrong. Like what you've written as well. Like, Gielinor Games is just on a complete different level when it comes to content creation. Like the amount of devotion that goes into like putting those episodes together, concepting them, casting everybody, pulling in all those recording sessions, etc. It's like an unfathomable effort. And I think to me, and I feel like other people in CM agree, that it makes more sense to be finding ways to kind of organically and sustainably support like grassroots organizers and communities rather than desperately trying to like cram stuff in around everything else that we have to do and like maybe not being able to give it the love that it needs, and instead just putting it in the hands of communities, supporting them to the point where they can grow things themselves and like, put themselves on the map even, I guess, right? Like who might be the next Soup or the next EVScape with like Battle Royale, etc. Like, you never know. So it's support what's there and find a way to support people who could be like the next big thing in that regard, right? Because there's other people doing really cool stuff like Hemis with high risk TOB, high risk TOA and all that stuff. A whole bunch of stuff. There used to be RSPK League like in 2021. All kinds of stuff. Just finding the time, figuring out how best to make it happen, right?
For sure. Sween, do you want to copy?
Yeah, no, exactly what he said. They do it better than we do. Let's just help them do it even better with the support we can offer. No point trying to copy badly. It's just help them, elevate them to the highest levels they can achieve.
Absolutely. I'm not going to try and disagree with that point at all. Agree with it fully. There is a part of me though that would like to see in some capacity some official events return in one way or another. I think that we actually did some of them really well. I'm thinking back to, although it was an extremely long broadcast and I looked like a deranged lunatic during it because of how long it went on. The PvP All Stars was one of like my all-time favorites, and before I'd even joined Jagex, I got invited to have the opportunity to experience what it was like in the office just around the same time that the PvP Championship was going on. The multiple, I think it was 5v5s that were happening, or maybe even 3v3 and 5v5s, I can't remember exactly now. But some of those I think we have done really, really well, and especially as our production team have leveled up. You know, we've been able to host our own Deadman events without having to go to an event and such as well, which has been absolutely phenomenal. And those are the kind of things that I think we can do really well, and I'd like to see come forward more often. But at the end of the day, if that's in, you know, if it's a trade-off between supporting grassroots communities and helping the community grow and do the awesome work that they are doing, which, as Sween and Goblin have said, we just can't really do that better. I would rather that we supported them and let the focus be on that rather than us trying to do something. But maybe one day we'll see a healthy balance where the two can exist and we can have more official things. But I don't want it to be at the expense of, you know, creator-led programs, because I think it just goes to show that it works really well if we can help support and enable them to happen. I think one of the examples you obviously put in your notes, Sween, which I'll steal, is sponsoring the Battle Royale with EVScape, and that enabled them to not have to worry about finding funding and being able to fully fund editing and all that kind of stuff, which I think is just phenomenal and goes to show our commitment to the community as well. Because why try and recreate the wheel, you know, when we can just help make the wheel keep moving? That was a really crap analogy, but I'll move on to the next question now.
One more thing to add to it as well.
Oh, go on.
Obviously, in the time that you had left before you rejoined, you spent the time in an esports org.
Yep.
Goblin as well, big into esports, and Mod Manked, who has competed in these esports events. I think we have some more expertise and knowledge internally.
For sure, yeah. Okay, we have a little bit of time. I'll go to this one, and I think this one is probably mostly directed to you, Sween, and that is, what is the thought process that goes into marketing this game? It seems like an impossible task to sell a game that looks and plays like old school to any emerging markets in the current day and age. Is it pretty much just casting a wide enough net of nostalgia to catch old players?
So at the moment, a lot of what we do is trying to cast a wide enough net of nostalgia, but that's not how it should be, and that's not how it's going to be. I mentioned the research projects earlier. That's going to help inform that, especially around emerging markets. I don't think it's impossible to sell the game. It's a great game. The question mentions like it looks and plays like old school. So the visuals of a game is a pillar to sell, but I think old school has a lot of other things that make it special, like polling, the subscription model, great gameplay, all that kind of stuff as well. Old school's got a lot to be proud of, and we should be shouting about that.
Cool. I mean, that leads nicely on to the last question that I'll ask. It's almost like I cherry-picked this one out of the list. So looking at the influx of new players, are you confident that OldSchool Runescape will still be thriving in 10 years from now?
I've made some notes, but I've just thought to myself that in 10 years from now, I'll be 40 years old, and that's insane. Oh my God.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Yes. Anyway, influx of new players. So in the new skill survey, I had a little dig behind the scenes. We asked respondents to kind of self-report, tell us when they first started playing RuneScape or OldSchool RuneScape. Of the 40,000 or so respondents, about 6.25% of them said that they started playing for the first time since mobile's release. That's a pretty new player. That's not someone we've tried to like get in the nostalgic messaging back. So there's a sizable amount of new players coming through, even without the stuff I mentioned earlier, that research project. So I am very confident that old school will be thriving in 10 years. Less confident that I will be thriving in 10 years.
Preach. I think aside from that as well, just like look at where we are now. We're about to celebrate old school's 10th birthday, which is surreal to even think about in the first place. But it feels like we're just building up that momentum that we're going to catapult forward. There's so much exciting content on the horizon, and it literally is just the start of it too. So I think this year is going to disappear. The next year will follow suit. The year after that will also most likely follow suit. And before we know it, it'll be 5 years from now asking the same question. Do we think it will still be thriving in 10 years? And I genuinely think the answer to that will be yes, especially if we continue the way that we are. Anyone else have anything they want to input on your thoughts about old school in the next 10 years before we wrap up?
I don't mind piping up. Nobody else wants to. Oh, Sarnie motioned. Do you want to go?
No, I'm good. I'm just
Right.
saying if it's got any legs that, you know, if it's any track record of what we're offering this year, that happens the next 10 years, then we're in a good place.
Yeah, I think for me, like, even though like the game's old school, etc., that like so much of like the pull of the game for me is stuff that's kind of eternal, right? Like I don't know, like setting goals, accomplishing things, just like discovery and exploration, and like I don't know, feeling like you're developing a knowledge base or a skill set is just like never not gonna be like enjoyable to some people, right? Like I don't know. I don't think the game's gonna age poorly because I don't really think it's gonna age. It's just gonna keep being old-school RuneScape. It's gonna keep popping off. In my mind, at least. Fingers crossed. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years we'll all just be plugged into something. We'll just be playing old school with our brains. I'll be one-tick chinning while playing chess. Who knows?
I think I saw someone playing Elden Ring with brainwaves on Twitter the other day, actually, which was pretty surreal. So maybe we're not too far off from that. So, all right, well, I'll jump into wrapping everything up. We still have like 15 or so decent questions that we could have asked, plus chat questions. So apologies to those that we didn't get round to from the chat, but maybe that's just a sign that we all need to get together at another point in time and redo this stream so that we can continue it as a part 2 and then a part 3.
So many answers.
Yeah. Well, you can save them, can't you? It's no time wasted. It's all good. All right. Yeah, we can always put them into like a document, maybe as part of the summary that we do. All right, before I go to the announcements, let's have a quick look at some of the content that our players have been making, because I always love this section. So the first one is cupcakes decorated with rune symbols on top of them by Any Impression 3250 from Reddit.
I absolutely love our community. Sorry, I just love this.
Sorry, I'm just saying, I'm glad this is the end of the stream and not the beginning, because I'm mad hungry looking at those.
I had a huge lunch, so thankfully I'm not hungry, but they are looking delectable. All right, next one is an early Valentine's Day present, a canvas with the picture of a scaper couple writing, "You're my favourite adventurer" by the Hapster. Very cute.
I never got that back in my day.
Well, there's still time. Like, don't worry. I'm sure someone will make a canvas for you. It's really cool to see, though. Okay, let's have a look at some more food, and this is a player's birthday cake by Liss600, also from Reddit. There it is. Quest completed.
Look at that jam. Look at the amount of jam in that, though.
There's a lot of jam and cream. And this is year 27, I think I can see it in the background there. So, nice accomplishment. It's jam-packed. Nice. Good one, chat. That's something I would normally say. All right, what about trying their hand at making some old school RuneScape stained glass by In Search of an Exit? Wow, I like that. It's cool.
Beautiful, absolutely stunning.
I love the variety of stuff that our players make. There's just so much like diversity in terms of like the things they make, you know? It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of diversity, this one definitely also brings in that. This is a gnome child in plushie form by Sealed Fusion. And this is terrifying, I'm not going to lie.
It's going to give Witchy a run for her money, honestly. Look at that.
I need one. I need one so bad.
That literally is like, I need this. Just take my money.
Please.
Brilliant stuff. All right. Well, thank you as always, everyone, for putting your wonderful creations together and sharing them with us. We'll hopefully grab more of those for the next stream. But that is all we have time for. So I'll go over the announcements once more. If you missed it and you've not been listening, Mod Sween is back. Woo! Mod Sween! Yay! Let's go. In terms of other announcements, ! Game update. This week we made some changes to the Wilderness boss rework, mostly in the form of adjusting drop rates, as well as some other changes on your feedback, one of those being improvements to the Venator bow. Make sure you check it out with ! Game update and let us know all of your thoughts. We are the team to be made aware of. So, I don't know, well, it's getting late now and I need to go home. I already am home, I just need to get offline. ! Account. The closed beta for Jagex accounts is now underway. You can read our latest update about Jagex accounts and everything that involves in our latest news post, including what our next steps will be. ! Account for that. Now, lastly, we have ! New Skill Discord. We are still going through all of your responses, over 40,000 of them from the survey. Thank you, everyone, for all of the feedback that you've given us so far. We're working closely with the devs to try and formulate some great pitches that we can show to you later on, hopefully during February. But in the meantime, make sure you join the Discord with ! New Skill Discord, because when we're ready to start talking, we will be inviting players into the contributor role, so we can start chatting. And if you're not a contributor, you can still join so that you can see all the conversations that go on and stay up to date with everything. But if you're not interested in that at all, then you can just wait for our news posts where we'll give you a general summary of what went on anyway. Now, that is all we have time for today. So I want to say once again, thank you to everyone at home. Really appreciate you all watching and tuning in. Thank you for being so amazing in chat. Top friend to you all. Thank you, Mod Sarnie, Mod Goblin, Mod Light, Mod Sween. Thank you as well, Mod Spear, for helping make sure that the stream runs as smoothly as it does, as well as the wonderful mods that have helped out in the chat today, moderating all of you less than pleasant people. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Happy scaping, and may RNG be on your side, and we shall see you next week.